Ladies and gentlemen, the game of chess is the pinnacle of an intellectual battle. And normally, you are in control of all of the pieces. But what if all of your pieces were controlled by somebody else? A human per piece. Probably would be chaos. Luckily for us, I don't have to do this from scratch. A YouTuber and streamer by the name of Doug did this. Every single one of the pieces was controlled by a different person. This led to a nearly 5-hour game of chess that I will be reviewing for your viewing pleasure in today's video. Now, you may be asking yourself, why does Gotham sound like that? Well, a month ago, I got the flu. And now I'm getting hit with seasonal allergies. And my voice box is catastrophic right now. I mean, I woke up today and I'm just going through it. So you're going to have to deal with this for a little bit. Before I get into this game, I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, Escalating. Folks, I've already traveled a lot this year. January was Spain, February was England, and April was Sweden. And if you've traveled before, you probably know the feeling. You've just landed. There's no Wi-Fi. Roaming is ridiculously expensive. You don't want to buy a random SIM card from a person at a kiosk. And that's why I started using Saily. It's an eSIM app, so you don't have to deal with all the headaches that come with travel and still being connected. You simply download the app, pick a country, install it, and you're done. So before my trip, I opened Saily, picked the Sweden plan, and the second that I landed in Stockholm, I was connected and ready to go. I can text my family that I landed, I can call a taxi, I can check maps, and most importantly, I can boot up a game of chess. Whether you travel a lot like me or just a couple times a year, Saily is still a no-brainer. It's way cheaper than roaming and it just works instantly. Download the Saily app today or go to saily.com/Gotham and use Gotham at checkout. That's Saily, S-A-I-L-Y. And with that, let's get back to the video. So, what happens in a game of chess where every move is determined with a democratic vote, arguments, and text-to-speech on a live stream? Nothing good. At least nothing good for the players, but something really good for us. Now, if you were paying attention in the introduction, you might have realized, and I will go back just in case, so you can take a look one more time. The board is wrong. So the board that they played with is completely incorrect. The bottom right-hand corner is a dark square. That is not how a chessboard is supposed to look. The bottom right-hand corner is a light square. But also, the first move of this game is e5. So basically, black went first and the board was wrong. In the game, black went first. If you actually watch the 52-minute video, black went first in that game. So I have had to recreate the entire game with black going first on the wrong colors of the board, which was, you know, there was definitely some work to be done there. So c4 was the next move. I mean, basically we have a Sicilian defense, but white played the English, but white went second. Black then played d6, which is a move. Of course, you should get your knights out and your bishops before you block them in. We have d3. So far, nothing too complicated. For the record, Da American was a player on the white team, I believe this pawn. And for black, the hero Yulp is this rook. So that's Yulp, and Yulp is going to have a very prominent role in this game. This is very important. So black develops with the knight, white develops, black develops, and white goes knight to f3. So far, so good. Everything is mega chill. And black plays the move bishop to f5. Just everybody developing their pieces, nothing too complicated. White plays e4. Oh, sorry, I skipped a move. White plays e4 on the next move. I'm disturbed by how my vocal box sounds. Probably should go to a laryngologist? I don't know. Larynx. Big word. Yes, we develop the bishop and we pin the knight to the queen. I mean, I'm pretty happy with the way this is going. Black now can attack the bishop, block the pin and castle short side, move the queen and castle long side. I don't really care. So far, these players are playing absolutely fantastic chess. A move I would not play here is the move queen e7. This is a very bad move. When you are pinned bishop, knight, queen, you generally should do something about it. I mean, developing a bishop and getting a bishop in the way would enable the movement of the knight, which would be very possible. But when you develop the queen there, now the queen is really pinned. You're never going to get anything in the way of the pin. And white can play the move knight d5, which is going to be absolutely vicious. Hits the queen, hits the knight, PP on the PP, pressure on the pin piece. Then you would take this knight, doubling the structure. The knight would exert pressure on everything. But Team Da American plays the move e4, which also probably is not that bad. The bishop goes back to e6. And now white plays g3, which is, again, like here with white, you could develop, castle this way, go to castle this way. Any of these moves are fine with me. G3 is also a move, because probably you want to play bishop g2. Putting the bishop like this is called a fianchetto. We have castles. And now, by castling long, white has really enabled the move knight to d5. Knight to d5 will be a serious problem for black, because if black were to take with the bishop, white will take with this pawn, attacking the knight. Also, by taking with this pawn and moving the knight there, the c file becomes completely open, and you will plant a rook there and exert pressure on this pawn and this king. And then you will move your queen, and then you're going to play b4 and b5, and you will have a very strong attack. By committing the king there, black has given white a target to attack. Okay? The players argued, the knight went there, and black took the knight, and now white took with the c pawn. And we have our first blunder of the game. Here, black argued and ultimately decided to play the move h6. Because their knight is hanging, and now the bishop is hanging. Now, the way you avoid blunders like this in the future is you think, well, I go here, they take, I take. That logic pattern does not work because you are proving yourself correct. And in chess, you cannot prove yourself correct. You have to prove yourself wrong. And why this is important is because after this sequence of moves, what if I don't take this? What if instead of doing that, I take the knight and then I take this knight? And that is exactly what happens. And black blunders. First, though, white plays bishop h3 check, because why not? Me see check, me give check. It can't possibly be a bad move. The king goes to b8, we take on f6, and after this brief skirmish, white is now officially completely winning. White is winning because not only is white up a knight, white also has a very direct attack on this king in the form of queen to b3 check. Of course, when you play queen to b3, this knight will now have no protection, which it would have had if this pawn stayed back here and the bishop had developed to the e2 square. So queen b3 check would be that would be certainly an issue. King a8, but you have to defend the knight. And that's what happens here. I'm actually very impressed that Team Da American, playing with the white pieces, found the move knight to d2. Very nice. I mean, you can protect this also with the king or the bishop. Probably the best thing to do is to play bishop back to g2. But moving the knight over here is also not bad at all. Also, you can move the knight there, and then deliver checkmate. Presumably if the opponent is a moron. But the logic still stands. Black plays rook b8. Can't hate on that move. That's, by the way, that's Yolp. So if you notice, Yolp was part of the castling move. And now Team Yolp is getting involved in the game. So we are attacking the queen on b3. The queen goes here and targets the pawn on c6. If that pawn is taken, the game is basically effectively over. It's actually over a lot faster than you would think, because in this position, white has the absolutely vicious move, bishop c8. And it's not very likely, it's not very often that you see a bishop traveling to the complete opposite side of the board to pin a rook to the king. PP on the PP, pressure on the pin piece. That's not how the game ends. Black plays c5. Still, white can play bishop d7 and bishop c6. I don't think black would allow that, but it looks like a very nice idea. With white here, I would castle, and then I would put my rooks over here and launch with these two pawns and attack with absolutely massive consequences for the black king. Black effectively here has no counterplay. The only way you can create any counterplay is with your g and h pawns. White castles. And black plays queen g5, which is a move that I don't understand whatsoever. That move does literally nothing, but I guess that's what happens when you allow humans to control your pieces. They just make moves. I'm not even sure what the voting process was. I'm not sure if somebody had to donate like some sort of channel points. I don't know. Maybe they had cooldowns. This is certainly one of the legal moves that black has, but black should probably get the bishop in the game. Okay, queen g5. Now, with white, again, I would go rook b1 and just open up the lines for my rooks. By the way, this is still not the worst idea in the world. In fact, it's very difficult to stop because black's position is so bad. The light squares for black are just not working out. When you have 7 out of 8 pawns on dark squares, that means your dark squares are really well reinforced, but your light squares are terrible. And in this particular case, yeah, your light squares are really terrible. The only way to protect this would be rook b6, at which point I would attack the rook immediately. And when you go here, I would probably put my queen here and begin regenerating checkmate threats, as well as generating the opportunity to trap your rook, and you would lose. So now white plays a move that I don't get at all. So up to this point, white was actually playing really fantastic chess. And now I'm pretty sure the American starts participating. And that was probably the wrong decision. Because here, white plays the very powerful and mysterious pawn to b3. b3 is a weird move. b3 doesn't accomplish anything. It also changes nothing, but it doesn't do anything at all. Which is fine, but generally, there is a philosophy in chess. The longer you allow an opponent to survive in a chess game, the worse it's going to be for you. So even if they are completely lost, the longer they survive, the more they don't believe that you could actually beat them. So beat them when you have a chance. Rook b4. Yes, Yolp traveled forward and accomplished 0 with this move, but at least it was a move. It was a move that cannot be taken by the queen. You can attack the rook, but the rook would just move. White responded with f4, a very good move. f4 attacks the queen, targets the pawn, and is ready to bring another piece into the game. You activate a piece in chess without actually moving the piece. Very sophisticated planning. I like it a lot. Pawn takes f4. Rook takes f4. White is crushing. Now with white, you break in over here, but black plays very smart move f6. And now with white, to convert this position smoothly, you probably have to be at least an intermediate player, like right at the early stage of intermediate, advanced beginner, like 1,000, 1,100, 1,200, should begin to confidently more or less convert this position. Like you should be able to tell me, okay, here I'm going to try to trade the queen. I'm going to try to trade the rook. I'm going to try to do X, Y, Z. What you probably should not do is what you're about to see unfold in the game. You probably should not attack the queen with the knight, and when it moves, blunder your bishop in one move and lose all of your advantage. So here, the players on the white side fell into the beginner trap of, me no know what to do, so me attack queen. When queen move, me attack queen again. Me no see queen attack bishop. This is one of the most common beginner blunders. Targeting a piece and not thinking where it's going to go. Really, it's very disrespectful to the opponent. When you play this move, you just assume the opponent's going to blunder the queen. I mean, what you should do is you should bring the bishop back to the king, and then you need to open up the lines for your pieces. So after that, you can maybe trade a pawn. And after pawn takes, you take the rook, right? But if black doesn't do that, if black plays some other move, well, then you can play e5. And now you open up the bishop directly targeting the king. This is going to be very, very bad news for black very soon. Black will lose the game basically instantly after this. Knight takes e5, and black will lose a lot of material. But now it's game on. White has not only blundered their bishop advantage, they are just worse now. They are worse because they don't have the bishop. The knight is not going to be involved in a close position. And also, white's king is actually really weak now. Which makes it even more incredible that they move it on this move. Now, what's incredible is that actually by mistake, total accident, the position is much more difficult than it looks. Black's queen is trapped. I think whoever played king to f2 might have been cheating. Hot take. King to f2 is the top move of the computer in this position. Nobody would move the king here because this is already protected. Now, I could be oversimplifying, but king f2 threatens rook to g1 and rook g3 trapping the queen. That is findable, and I know that people who watch this video are going to be like, oh, I saw that. No, you didn't. You would never see that in a game. That's very tough to spot, considering that you've just blundered your bishop. Well, the only move here is h5. The point of h5 is that after rook to g1, you take and you get away. That's the idea. It's the only move, actually. Black, however, plays g5 because, again, age-old philosophy of chess, me no know what to do, me attack piece. Me attack piece. Now, this is a blunder, but it's not a blunder because of rook takes pawn. That's what you think, right? Rook takes pawn. No, because rook takes pawn, there's bishop to g7, and bishop to g7 is not even the best move, which is quite incredible. It's h5 still, which is really vicious. The reason g5 is a blunder is because of the move that white spots in the game, which is the move queen takes f6. That is a nasty little move. And if you take my rook, I take your rook, and then I target your bishop. Now something like this can happen. Takes, takes, and you have to go here. And white is still better here because of rook to g1, and the queen is still stuck. Wow. Yeah, none of that happens. None of that happens. After queen takes f6, black plays rook to g8 and is now just catastrophically lost. White can play queen e6, queen f7, target the rook, target the check, go in with the other rook. Now the game gets crazy. Now we really see humans participating in this game. Let me take a sip of water. Now we are really going to see. This is truly human participation. Queen d8 check. No. We went here to target the rook and the rook only. Now we play queen d8 check, forcing black to play rook back to b8. That's Yolp. Shout out to Yolp. Now the queen goes to c7. Wait, what? White just hung the rook. The entire purpose of taking on f6 was to match this attack with this attack. Instead, white went to gobble a pawn and lost their rook. Now, it is still a draw. White here can repeat moves with queen c6, rook b7, check or check, and the game ends in a draw. That's what should happen here. That is what happens. Check here, check here. And now white went queen e6. Queen e6 was the right move before you blundered your rook. So over here, queen e6 was the right move because you would have been threatening a rook. Now you are not threatening a rook. The rook can take the pawn. The queen can take the pawn. The rook can go to g7. Black plays a move here, which is one of the most unfortunate moves that I have seen in quite some time. You have a hanging rook. What could possibly be better than playing the move bishop to g7, which simultaneously protects your rook with a rook and attacks this rook? The move is completely genius. But you always have to look for checks that the opponent could have. And white here has a check that forces you into one of the most catastrophic sequences you may have ever seen. White gives this check, and black's king has no defense except rook to b7. But if you play rook to b7, I take the rook, at which point black has no defense except putting the rook back on b8 and losing the defense of the bishop. And one move costs black 8 points of material. And not just 8 points of material, the queen is now stranded. It cannot escape at all. One move, this bishop move, basically cost black these 8 points of material and 9 more points. 17 points of material basically rendered useless with one bishop move. And that is essentially chess in a nutshell. You play excellent stuff and then you just get demolished by accident. And so now white will begin the conversion process because white is up at night and white is going to take a bunch of pawns. And the cleanest way to win this game, by far, cleanest, is to get a queen trade. If you trade these queens, all you have to do is take the rest of black's pawns and promote. Maybe easier said than done. Maybe I have way too much faith in you. H5 is a good move. White plays rook g1, takes, and rook takes. I probably would have taken with the queen, but there is no danger here whatsoever. This queen still has no moves. Rook takes f4, rook f7 to get the rook and the queen on the 7th rank and simply go deliver a checkmate. Rook to b4. Yelp is being very impressively useless here. Rook b4 doesn't do anything. Black actually is just lost here after queen check and then getting the rook in, so the rook and the queen bother the king together. Rook takes f4, though, is the move played, and the queen goes back to c8, and white finds rook f8, and now black is just going to be without a queen. It's going to be a rook and 3 pawns versus a queen and a knight. And pawns. It's hopeless. So, black plays queen to b8, the queen gives the king a kiss on the cheek, and perishes. Rook takes, king takes, h4. The game couldn't be more easy to convert. We have h5, h6, h7, h8. I mean, and that's ladder mate. 4 more moves and black is going to lose the game. But obviously, as we know, it's low elo chess and every piece is controlled by a person. There is absolutely no chance this game is going to end normally. Black plays rook to b7, attacking the queen. Now, again, simplest way to win this, sack the queen for the rook. Just give it away, promote a new queen. Just give it away, promote a new queen. 3 pawns can't do anything to you whatsoever. Instead, we go queen to f6, rook goes to d7. We have h5, we have d5. The knight goes to e5, attacking the rook. The rook slides over to the go here, queen g6, d4, and now, well, it's over. The queen takes the rook. We slide out of the way. We promote him. That's it. The king will be stranded on the 7th rank. It's completely lost. It's hopeless. Team white is going to win. Except after queen g6 and d4, white went here. And after king b7, whoever controls the white pieces for this move went here. This person should be banned from the internet. They did not take the rook. Every piece is controlled by a person. Rook takes h5. May I remind you, this is still Yelp. Yes, the same Yelp from the corner of the board. 44 moves later, the only one still chugging along for a defense. Dare I say, the only one still creating opportunities for a comeback. It is never too late to lose a game of chess. I mean, you lose a full queen here, anything can happen. This man is still causing problems. White plays queen d5 check. Black goes king c7. At this point with white, you have another fork. You can win Yelp. You have a double fork here. Instead, we play king to f5. I have no idea why we're moving the king. The king is not supposed to be getting involved here. Also, rook h5 wins the queen, but the difference is you would have to give up the rook for that. Instead of that, Yelp goes rook c2. I can't really explain the move rook c2, but here Yelp was going to say hello to the pawn on b3. I think the rook and the pawn were trying to reunite. Remember, they were talking trash for about 4.5 hours. So the rook and the pawn are looking to reunite on c3 and b3. Now, king f4. Rook c3, and we have our anime moment. These two pieces have finally met face to face, except now white can take this pawn and take this pawn and take this rook. Also at this point, black offered white a draw, and keep in mind it's democracy, so white could have actually voted to make a draw. They did not. They did not do that. Queen c5 check, king to d7, queen takes d4 check, the king goes here. And on the 52nd move, Yelp perished. Now, what you will see for the conclusion of this game will definitely hurt. Another thing is, these poor people joined a chess game and never moved. They straight up never moved, which is kind of hilarious. They sat for 4 hours and never got a chance to move. Until now. White went b4, black went a5, and just like that, perished. Except white went knight e5 for some reason, and the pawn went there, and then this pawn went forward, and then a3, and now they perished. And white converts this game very smoothly, actually. I was very impressed. The black king went to f6, and actually tried to go to g6, but it was illegal. Black went here, white advanced, black went here. And now to avenge Yelp, the American, named after the team, promoted to a rook to honor his fallen comrade, and white proceeded to finish the game with queen a7 check and pawn to d5. Stalemate, up 20 points of material.